Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel for another video today. Happy Tuesday. I hope that you have had a great start to your week so far. And thanks again for joining me for another episode. So today you get glasses, Brittany, because when I am filming multiple videos at the same time, so I filmed yesterday's video today as well, I like to do one with glasses and one with not glasses so I can tell which footage goes with which video. It's just a little way in my mind that I help to sort myself out during the editing process. So you get glasses, Brittany, in this video. So today we are actually going to be discussing something that I have been wanting to talk about for a very long time. And it is the idea of head hunger and stomach hunger. Okay, so I recently heard this on a podcast that I will try to remember to link down below, but they were really diving into head hunger, stomach hunger, what the difference is, and why not everybody has both. And I really found it intriguing and interesting, and it inspired me to make today's GLP1 Discussions video. So let's just go ahead and dive into it. So when we are first presented with the option of GLP-1 therapy, right? When you go to your doctor's office and they write you a prescription for a GLP-1, raise your hand if you were actually given the details on how a GLP-1 works. My hand's going down because I was not. I was told that it would help me lose weight, and that's pretty much it. And I was kind of told that it would suppress my appetite. That's it, right? So in the same conversation, my doctor, now I need to clean my glasses, but in the same conversation, my doctor actually recommended phentermine, which if you've been here that long, you know that I was on phentermine the first month of my journey, but he kind of compared it to phentermine, Mounjaro to phentermine, okay? Now this is, again, he's in the very, very early days of Mounjaro and before a lot of this stuff was known about how it works. So I don't necessarily think like that was his fault for saying that. But we all know that phentermine will just suppress your appetite, right? It'll make you not hungry. It doesn't work in the same way that a GLP-1 does. But when I left the office that day, that's what was in my mind. Like, okay, so Mounjaro is just this sort of alternative to phentermine that is going to do the same thing. Never in a million years would have I expected of what actually happened and what proceeded to happen over the next couple of years, right? So we're told that it's going to help us with our hunger, but we're not told how, and we're not told that there's actually two very different types of hunger. Very different. And if you don't know, if you're somebody that does not struggle with both types, don't worry, because I'm about to explain to you what the difference is. Okay, so I asked a question in my Facebook group recently, which if you're not a member, it's free encouragement group. I have a link down below. But basically I posed the question, what is one thing you wish you would have known prior to starting your journey? What is one thing you wish your doctor or your provider had told you when you were going in to start your journey? And overwhelmingly, the biggest thing was, I wish they had told me anything. I wish I had known anything about this drug and what it was going to do, okay? Stomach hunger. So in my mind, first, before we get going here, I am not a doctor. I'm just a girl who lost a lot of weight on a GLP-1, researches a lot of things, and has learned a lot of things, okay? Always talk to your personal provider for any medical advice. Okay, so stomach hunger in my mind is real hunger. It is your stomach growling is the first sign that your body needs food, okay? And if you ignore the stomach growling, we all know what can happen after that. Need we talk about my Great Wolf Lodge experience where I almost fell down 14 flights of stairs. You will feel dizzy, you will feel famished and weak and shaky. I didn't write down shaky, I don't know why, but shaky. You will start to feel more significant side effects like blood sugar dropping side effects if you ignore that first level sign of hunger, which is your stomach growling. So in my mind, stomach hunger is real, true hunger. That is your body telling you that it needs nutrition, okay? I had an aunt growing up when I was a kid, and I can remember we only saw her a couple of times. I still have this aunt, but we only saw her a couple times a year. One of those times was always at Christmas. The week after Christmas, we would go to my grandmother's house from Christmas to New Year's, and we would all drive home on New Year's Day. And every year she would say things about how she only eats when her stomach growls. So even if food is presented to her in any way, like say it's a mealtime, say, you know, she's at a party and snacks are out, but it's not a mealtime. If she's not hungry, like if her stomach is not physically growling, she doesn't eat. And she's been that way her whole life. And she's always been a healthy weighted person. Now, when I was a kid, I remember sitting there thinking, how Like, how in the world do you go to a party where there's cake and ice cream and cookies and chips and pizza and all of the things and not eat it, even if you're not hungry? Like, who does that? I remember thinking it was weird. Like, something's wrong with her. Like, that's weird. Like, who goes into a party and doesn't eat the food that is there? Okay. But that was me as a child. And as I got older and as I started a GLP-1 and realized that that is the difference between true hunger, stomach hunger, and head hunger. A person who does not suffer with head hunger can wait until their stomach growls and then eat something. Somebody that has head hunger, me, and I'm assuming a lot of you, cannot do that, right? So we go to the party and we eat all the food because it's there. And why would we not eat it? It's there and it's free. Why are we not eating this food? Why are we not eating this pizza? If we eat pizza now, then we don't have to eat dinner later because we've already been fed. But we all know we're going to go home and we're going to eat dinner later, right? Okay, let me cycle back around here because now I'm just getting off on a little tangent. So head hunger is the inability to turn down food even if you're not hungry, even if your stomach's not growling, even if you're not shaky, you're feeling famished. You still have to eat that food because your brain will not let you not eat that food. For years, we were told that this was defined as willpower, right? So if you were somebody who couldn't control what you were eating, if you couldn't say no to the cupcake, then you were weak and you had no willpower. It wasn't until, I would say, the development or this discovery of GLP-1s that people started to see that a little bit differently, because what we ended up finding out through our own personal treatment is that we weren't weak or lacked willpower or lazy. We just were suffering with something that this population of people were not. So it wasn't that they could turn it down better than us. It was that they were never wanting it the way we were, or they were never thinking about it the way we were. I've described that thing that Oprah said in one of her interviews about GLP-1 therapy, where she talks about how when she would go to dinner as a young woman with friends, and she remembers looking around at the table of her thinner, healthy weighted friends and saying, well, how are you not eating all that food on your plate? You paid for that food. Why are you not eating it? Whereas Oprah herself, and I am Oprah in this situation in many different ways, would eat every bite that was on her plate because it was there, because that's the plate they served me. So whether or not I needed it and whether or not I was hungry, I was going to eat it because my head wanted it, right? And I remember when she said she learned the big sort of light bulb went off, that she realized that it was because those people weren't thinking about their food. They were talking to each other and they were conversing and they were, being together, whereas she was thinking about her plate and her food and the bread basket and all of that. And that was a really good example to me too about what head hunger is and what the difference is with somebody who has it and somebody who doesn't. Now, unfortunately, there are still a lot of people, a majority of people in the world who have no real belief that head hunger is actually a thing, that food noise is actually a thing, okay? We have this whole group of people that still just think that we're weak or lazy or just can't lose weight because we lack the willpower to do so. And that's really unfortunate, but it is something that we are going to have to be tackling for years and years and years to come. And the really only way to do that is to keep talking about it, keep bringing it up in discussion on the internet, in real life, with people who maybe don't understand but want to, people that are open to receiving different opinions, to trying to really explain to them how we feel. When I was at the conference with Orderly Meds last week, I remember Chris Spears, the CEO, said to me and a couple of the other girls, oh, I'm sitting at the question table. And I remember thinking, and I said to him, but again, I remember thinking, well, if nobody asks the questions, how are they going to get answered, right? So if you don't tell these people about the things that you experience that they don't, so they don't know anything about, then they're never going to know. So can we really fault them for having the opinion that they have? Probably not. When you know better, you do better. So in order for them to do better, they need to know. So the only way we can do that is to tell them, right? So we need to keep this line of conversation open, and maybe more people will find my videos or other people's videos that are being done on this, and they can start to realize. Another example that I wrote down that it's actually the same aunt, her daughter when we were kids, we would always go to the same trip every year. We would go to like Golden Corral or Ryan's, if you remember Ryan's. And I remember her children, she had a son and a daughter, would go up and they'd get, you know, a little bit of everything that they wanted, but then like they would be sitting there just kind of chatting decades, eons before everybody else in like my family was then eating, because we were still going back and getting plates, because in our world, you unleash us to a buffet, we're going to eat until we're absolutely stuffed and can't eat another bite. Whereas they have the attitude of food's not going anywhere. We have food to eat at our house. I don't need to stuff myself right now, right? So I've often wondered if that had to do with the way that my aunt raised them, like that she put that in their mind from a very young age, that you don't have to eat if you're not hungry. And if you're not hungry, you shouldn't eat. And if you feel like you're hungry, maybe you should really, you know, like just encouraging the entire thought process that, am I really hungry? Is there something else going on? Whatever. And I'm wondering if there is a link between your parenting style and head hunger, like how you speak and talk about weight and food or whatever around your children. Does that translate into how they are going to be as they get older? Can we relate all of our issues back to our childhood and generational childhoods and how we were raised and what we were taught to think about food? Because on the flip side, my mother, who is on a GLP-1, also had bariatric surgery because she was 350 plus pounds, and she was the exact opposite of my aunt. So she was like we are if I didn't have my GLP-1. She would go and eat all the food at the buffet. And so is head hunger a learned behavior? Can you raise your children and instill things in their mind from a young age that will prevent them from getting this issue later? This is not the way this video was supposed to go. I went off on a tangent there about parenting, but I kind of do think it correlates. I do. You know, you have daughters who their mothers are obsessed about their weight all the time. And so the daughters become obsessed about their weight all the time. And so I do think that the things we teach our children play a role in how our children end up being in terms of food and the thought process they have surrounding food. And so I think my aunt and my mom are a very good example of what can happen when you do the opposite thing. Not that either of them were right or wrong. It's just the way things were done. And to be able to like so clearly see the difference, I think is pretty cool. So yeah, I want to know what your thoughts are. I want to know how you feel about the idea of head hunger or food noise. And are there people that are on a GLP-1 that don't have food noise? So like people that were just, you know, overweight for other reasons, like health reasons, PCOS or whatever, you know, are there people that are just on it for those factors that don't suffer from food noise? So like there's all these different facets and layers of how you can end up on a GLP-1, and we are not all the same, which I think is really important because we're not all the same. Is there a group within our GLP-1 group that don't suffer from food noise and still have no idea what we're talking about when we say food noise? If you're one of those people, let me know down below. I'm not. I have food noise. I obsessed over food my whole life. But I think that there are people who probably don't, and probably we could talk about their parents. Like, don't y'all just love when I'm sitting here talking to y'all and my light bulb goes off in my head and you can see me like figure it out? I like it. When I watch it back, I'm like, well, Brittany, you just had a moment there. Okay. Anyways, that's today's video. I want to know what your thoughts are on food hunger, on food noise. Do you think that stomach hunger is the one true hunger? Do you think head hunger could be the true hunger? I don't, but I want to know what your thoughts are. And do you think there is a way that we can alter the head hunger without a GLP-1, right? So in early years of life, do you think that there are things that we can instill that don't do that? That's a discussion that I want to have today in the comment section. So let's talk about it. I hope you guys have a great Tuesday, and I will see you guys tomorrow on Wednesday. We are going to be doing another What I Eat in a Day because I've not done one in like 3 weeks. So we're going to do another one of those this week. Until then, guys, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.